Good day, and welcome to this conversation on AI for energy and decarbonization, part of Economist Impact's fourth annual Countdown to COP event. I'm Phillip Cornell. I'm the Global Practice Lead for Energy and Sustainability at Economist Impact. And I'm pleased to be joined today by Peter Weckesser, Chief Digital Officer for Schneider Electric. Artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming the energy sector, providing solutions for enhancing efficiency, optimizing energy use, and accelerating the shift toward decarbonization. The increasingly evident impacts of climate change underscore the urgency of mitigation, and AI-driven tools are being deployed to manage renewable energy, to match a proliferating set of producers and consumers with each other, to predict demand, and to reduce emissions across industries. But challenges remain when it comes to scaling technologies, integrating them with existing infrastructure, and ensuring they contribute to equitable and sustainable outcomes. The intersection of AI and energy presents both opportunities and complexities that demand thoughtful consideration, particularly around policy and regulatory frameworks. This conversation aims to explore some of those dynamics and the potential of AI to play a pivotal role in the global energy transition. So I'm particularly pleased to welcome my guest today. Peter, thanks so much for being here. Maybe
Philip, thanks.
Kick off.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So happy to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Maybe we can kick off just generally to talk about the energy transition. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about how the energy transition is changing the dynamics and the complexity of the energy system, particularly on the power side.
Yeah, very, very happy to go into this. And maybe let me start with making a bit of a bold statement. You said that AI is transforming the energy landscape or the energy sector. I would actually make the claim that AI and technology, digital technology, and on top of that, of course, AI will be transforming any sector. So I'm very convinced that AI will have an impact on any business and any individual on the planet. And of course, it will have a major impact on the energy transformation. Actually, at Schneider Electric, we have been convinced for a long time, and we have been vocal about this, that the energy transformation and the digital transformation have to go hand in hand. Now, let me maybe talk first for a second about the energy transformation and then go more into digital and into AI. So the energy landscape is transforming at a significant speed. And I think we have to look at two angles of that. We need to look at the supply side and also at the demand side. The supply side of energy was much more part of the public discussion. How do we decarbonize our energy supply? This has been widely discussed for many years, right? And it's there's a consensus. We need to decarbonize. We need to get out of fossil fuels. We need to accelerate renewables. I personally believe also nuclear and potential other sources of energy which are carbon free will become part of the mix, right? But certainly for now, a big part is how we ramp up renewables more quickly. And renewables, of course, predominantly being solar and wind. And of course, by now, solar and wind have reached in certain geographies significant shares of the energy mix, which creates a new set of challenges and problems. But that's the one angle, decarbonizing our energy sources. And here also nuclear is going to play a major role in the future as well. Now, this decarbonization, the nature of renewable sources is that the energy supply will be more decentralized in the future. There's lots of local generations. We have solar panels on every house, on every home, on every factory rooftop. We have lots of decentral wind generation. So this is a different topology of the energy supply than in the past, where we had a certain number of relatively large power plants producing this energy. So decentralization goes hand in hand with the decarbonization of our energy mix. Then let me switch to the demand side of the energy, which has been much less part of the public debate. So the demand side of the energy is about creating the right level of transparency. How much energy do we do we utilize where? Also a planning component, when will we be using energy? And how can we shift certain demands to times where the right amount of energy is available? Today, we have the technologies available to reduce the demand side to up to 60% with the right technologies being deployed today. So we are very much advocating at Schneider, while the supply side of the energy discussion is a very important one. We need to decarbonize our energy sources. We also need to put a strong focus on the demand side management. How we use energy, when we use energy, how do we not use energy, right? Every energy that is being saved does need to be produced. And of course, I think that goes without saying, electricity is the most important secondary form of energy, which will be dominant, and everything will become more electric. Homes become electric, mobility becomes electric, industrial applications are being switched over from fossil fuels to electricity. So electricity is this dominant form of secondary energy. So now, before we go into digital, but I want to build that bridge to digital. With that description of the change in the energy landscape, we can already see that particularly both on the supply as well on the demand side, we will have a lot of producers of energy, much more energy suppliers, some of them very small. And of course, there's a huge focus on the demand side management, which will have a totally new set of requirements to the grid management, both of the utilities as well as of the microgrids that we will see more and more. So we are looking at one of the biggest digital challenges, where we really need to utilize all the new technologies that are available, from high bandwidth networks to AI, to really use this technology to manage the energy flows and manage the grids and optimize the consumption of the energy and balance the production with the consumption of energy.
Great, thanks. So yeah, as you said, I think these three challenges, putting more variable renewables in particular onto the grid, as well as other things like nuclear, also thinking about how can we optimize energy use on the side of the consumers, but also thinking about these distributed prosumers, these consumers and producers that are having now this dynamic relationship. Can you speak a little bit more about artificial intelligence in particular? Clearly, this is a much more digitized energy environment. But how does artificial intelligence in particular help to solve some of those challenges? Can you just give me some examples?
Yeah, very happy to go into this. Now, of course, AI has lots of applications. And that's my introductory statement. AI will be in any sector, in any industry. It will be very relevant for this energy transformation. Now, when we talk AI, I want to first also explain AI and position AI. So the last 2 years, the whole discussion on AI was on a relatively new technology called generative AI, which is all about generating new content from mostly unstructured data. What's very important is not to forget the classical machine learning, what I call analytical AI, which is really generating insights into mostly structured data. So, and when it comes now to controlling our energy networks of the future, let me maybe first describe the problem statement and then explain how AI will be a major part to solving this. One of our beliefs, and I take an example here of a home because most people can very well relate to that. Our belief at Schneider Electric is that the future home will be an all-electric home. That means no fossil heating sources anymore. So these homes will be using heat pumps as a heating source. Most likely homeowners will have EV charging. Most likely homeowners will have solar panels on the rooftop. Homeowners will still have a connection to the grid. And by the way, when I say home, the same is true for buildings with multiple apartments as well. And of course, then in homes and buildings, you have all the consumers of energy that you have today. You have your appliances, your stove, the lights, and everything. So every home every building will become a prosumer, producing energy, mainly with solar panels on the rooftop. It will be consuming energy the way it's consuming energy today. There will most likely be a very big consumer of energy, which is the heat pump, and most likely the EV fleet will be connected into the homes for most of homes and buildings. Now, this becomes what we call a microgrid, because you're producing energy, you're consuming energy, you have a grid connection. At certain times when you have an excess of energy, you will be feeding energy back into the grid. At times when there's not enough own production, you will be consuming additional energy from the grid. Now, this becomes a control system problem of a microgrid. How do you manage all these energy flows within your own home and building between the producers and the consumers, including the grid connection? But now you need to think of, but by the way, it also has a planning component to it, because there are times when you want your vehicle charged. There are other times when you can use your vehicle as a storage for energy. So there's a planning component into this as well, and a forecasting component. Now, as I said, these homes and buildings will still be connected to the grid and to the grid operator. So you need to be providing forecasts to the grid operator of how much energy you will be consuming. And of course, there is data collection on how much you're consuming right now. Now, think of this as a control system problem. You need to now control the energy flows within the building. So in the future, we are seeing a home energy management system in every home, in every building, that controls the internal flow and also provides the communication to the grid operator. Now, of course, the grid is not only one home or one building, but millions of homes and buildings. And millions of homes are now all of a sudden providing information. How much energy are they consuming or providing right now? They are providing forecasts on what they will be using in the future, or how much they can contribute to the grid. So this becomes, from that description, you can see this becomes a multi-dimensional control system, maybe the biggest control system that has ever been built, right? And if you think of millions of homes providing continuously data points on energy consumption and productions, including the forecasting, then we will have to apply a lot of technology to make sure that we are able to master this control system. And AI, besides other technology like high bandwidth networks, data platforms, data storage, will play a major role in controlling this. So AI will certainly be a key part to that, learning the usage patterns, being part in the prediction on and creating the forecast of the energy consumption, and being part of stabilizing the grid in the future. And tying this back to my earlier introduction, a big part of that AI that will be utilized here is actually not the generative AI, but the classical AI, which is more machine learning based, right? Based on very structured data points from the smart meters, but also from the forecasts being generated.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to think about, particularly on the foresight and forecasting side, what kind of capabilities this offers to energy management operators compared to what utilities are doing now, which is sort of at best macro level kind of forecasting about what demand across system wide might be. We're here talking at Countdown to COP in our Sustainability Week. So I did want to talk a little bit about particularly energy management from the sort of emissions side. In April, The Economist reported that AI has a clean energy problem. And the gist was basically that its significant impact on power demand is challenging for energy transition, even if data center operators might be more prone to, let's say, using clean energy than other sectors. How can we think about and overcome that challenge?
So it's very clear that data centers are a relevant user of energy today. It's about 2% of the energy consumption that goes into data centers today. The prediction with the significant ramp up of AI is that this will grow significantly. Now, I want to maybe share one data point. If you look in a data center, and if you look into a classical rack, which is mainly used for storage and compute, this energy consumption of this rack compared to an AI rack with GPUs, the GPUs will have about 4 times the energy consumption compared to a classical rack in a data center. So what we will see is that data centers will have a much higher energy density in the future than in the past. Particularly, these AI data centers will have an increased energy density. So for anybody who operates a data center, 2 of the big challenges are getting the land to build the data center and making sure that you have the right energy supply for that data center. And clearly, these workloads are very hungry with an increased energy and an increased total energy consumption of future data centers. So that's maybe the problem statement first. Now, all data center operators have a very strong focus to decarbonize their operations as well. So they are very much looking at how to utilize green energy, and I always include nuclear into this mix. And there are interesting corporations and partnerships being formed, where for a new data center there's an agreement with a power provider, so that this power provider is able to really provide green power for that data center. And certainly the forecasted increase in the utilization of AI drives the demand for more data centers with higher energy density and higher energy consumption. So a big part of the business model and the planning exercise for anybody who builds and operates data center is making sure to having the right energy supply, and particularly green energy supply for data centers. So that also goes hand in hand. So that data and AI economy drives the energy demand, but it clearly drives the demand for clean energy, which on the other side drives the necessary investments. How can we make sure that we can supply and that's a global problem statement. How can we supply the right amount of green energy to these data centers with this significantly growing demand?
Yeah.
Now, on the other side, of course, AI, as I explained previously a few minutes ago, can help us to significantly reduce the consumption of energy across all energy consumers globally. That's industry, that's homes, that's buildings. And going back to the building example, buildings today globally account for about 40% of the energy consumption, and also for 40% of the carbon footprint. So taking care of buildings and the grid is certainly a key part where AI is not only consuming energy, but playing a major role to contributing to the savings.
Yeah. Even within the context of those data centers, I mean, it's amazing to see sort of the progress that some of these technologies are having to optimize the energy usage of their own code processes within software in the data center. So yeah, clearly there's pulling from one side and absolutely optimizing more on the other. I just want to finish out our conversation by going a little bit to, we talked about using AI in the home to optimize use there, but there's so many clients and customers, both users of energy, but also potentially customers of the technologies coming from Schneider Electric, that are now having to think about integrating artificial intelligence or machine learning capabilities into their own processes. And that can be a difficult process, or at least an organizationally challenging process. Can you talk a little bit about how to make that work best?
Yeah. So we at Schneider Electric have been doing this at scale for at least 3 years now. So 3 years ago, we made the decision in the leadership team in the ExCom of Schneider that we need to double down on artificial intelligence and make AI a big part how we operate our business processes, our factories in Schneider Electric, and also integrate it into our own product portfolio. So what we learned from this clearly is And the recommendation that I would have for everybody, don't look at this as a technology-driven exercise. Look at this as a use case-driven exercise, where at least that's the way we are approaching it in Schneider Electric, and it has been proving quite successful for us over the last 3 years. So the way we have been addressing this is we really identified what are the use cases and the business cases where AI can help us drive productivity, efficiency, or even increase sales for the company. And that's the way how we have prioritized our activities. And we created a central organization, which we call our AI Hub, which works with every function, every business in Schneider to identify these business and use cases and then execute them. So what we did here or what we started to create is a pipeline of ideas. This AI Hub working with all the spokes, creating ideas where we could utilize AI. We wrapped a business framework around that where we quantified the benefits and also looked at the necessary investments required. And then we prioritized the AI use cases by what is the best return that we are generating for Schneider, right? And we also had that strategy. We do not want 1 million mosquitoes, but we want a couple of elephants, right? So we want the use cases that scale for the company. And I'm really happy to report today we have more than 100 use cases in operations. We have an even larger pipeline of new use cases, and we continue this approach of really looking at this use case oriented, having a business case for all of these use cases, and reviewing all the use cases at least once a year, whether they are living up to the business objectives. Now, all of this is supported by an AI platform, right? It's not that every use case creates its own technology platform, but we have standardized the technology platform that we are using across these use cases, which gives us an additional acceleration and scale because we can reuse the same technology platform for many of the use cases. So that is my recommendation. That's how we have approached it at Schneider, and we will certainly continue that journey. And we are deeply, deeply convinced that AI will even add more value to our business and to our customers' businesses in the future.
Yeah, I can see how so many learnings from sort of the internal ingestion of these technologies and using them for your own operations can be so valuable as you pass on that information also to potential clients. Peter Weckesser, thank you so much for joining me today. And I also want to thank our audience. Please stay tuned for the next session of Economist Impact's Countdown to COP29, which will begin shortly. Thank you.